Mr. Confidence returns to save fighting again. Call your grandma. Nanny, we did it. Watch and pay me. Fuck you, pay me. You fat Irish prick. You don't have my money. I put your brain to sleep. Who's that? What's that about? Who's he talking about? C is in the casinos after. The Mac loves yous all. I got love for yous. It's an it's an honor. It's light work. It's easy. For life and eternity, it's McGregor. How drunk was he when he wrote this? I do this fight game easy peasy. The sound of my shots off the head go bing in green dot laser form. Okay. Well, I really hope he is actually back. I mean, he's the most dynamic personality the sport's ever known.
And he was, for a time there, just such an unbelievable fighter. I mean, he was it was incredible what he was doing.
Danny Alvarez fight.
Oh yeah, I was there. I was there. Well, thanks to you. With really good seats, thanks to you. But that was one of the best. That might be the best fight I've ever been to live, because that whole card was just stacked, and that as the main event was just unbelievable.
Bro, he was in the Matrix. He was in the Matrix. He was just in the zone. You know, Dana said it best. He's like, that kid eats pressure. He goes, he eats it.
Yeah.
Like he thrives on pressure. Pressure that makes other people wilt.
Yes.
He like shines under that pressure.
And he had an amazing ability, even very early in his career, which was like kind of, it was really unique. Like, cause even like on his first fight ever, if you watch his first fight in the UFC, against, like Brimage, I think the guy's name is. And he was a relatively unknown at the time. But dude, the place is going nuts. He already had made so much kind of like street cred for himself. And then the Irish thing, like the Irish were really, really into it. But from the very first fight, he would always create these moments where it's like, dude, this is going to be the biggest spectacle that my opponent has ever been in their career. Like, I'm going to get you mad with shit talk, and I'm going to get the fans so excited. Because he's completely comfortable there.
Right.
Like, I'm not sure if you're really comfortable here, but and even with Aldo, who had been the entire division. He literally, when they started the division, they started him as champion. He didn't even win it. He came in because they absolved the WEC. Champion. So he was the entire featherweight division, had just dominated everyone. And he even created such a moment that like Aldo was like,
he was the boogeyman.
Yeah, dude, he was incredible. He's one of the greatest
featherweights of all time.
But he got him to the point where he was like so furious that he was like, I'm going to take this fucking guy's head off. And then Conor's just like relaxed. He's like he didn't care about any of the shit talking. He was just like, we're having fun. Let's play.
He lost his composure. Yeah, and he looked very overwhelmed by the moment. And by the way, everyone from Ireland came to Vegas for that fight. It was the nuttiest thing I've ever seen in my fucking life. The entire Mandalay Bay was overcome with
expected hacks, because I'm coming in fast. I tell you this, how are you doing after your 5-round fight with Oliveira? I thought some of the shots went to the back of the head. You had an opportunity to repay the favor you didn't take. I was disappointed in the result and the outcome of the bout and the shape the bout took. But how's the body? How are you feeling?
What it is, bro.
How's Hawaii?
I'm good.
I look forward to see you again in Las Vegas.
Hawaii's great, brother. Hawaii's great. I can't wait to see you in the Ninth Island, brother. How's Dublin? I heard you're sleeping in the gym, so that's great to hear, man. We're glad to have you back. I can't wait to get in there and mix it up, bro. We're gonna make some records.
Max, your fight with Conor was an early loss in your career, and I know you've been very vocal about wanting to get that victory back.
Oh, for sure. For sure. It's super fun, you know what I mean? But in Conor's words, I don't even think that's a loss. He said he only count finishes. And last time I checked, that was a decision. So we're on over into this fight. And
I like this. I like this. Good. Ring the bell. I swear. My head is everything here. My head is everything. Bum. I hope this. Then I hope this. Bum. 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 Okay? Bum, bum, bum. The fight is over here. Fight is over here. And then I want his head. Bum, bum, bum. From here. Bum, bum, bum. End the fight. Forever. All day, all night. Why? His head is right here. Please. And my strong rockets. These are missiles, yeah.
Conor McGregor is officially back under the bright lights, and the entire MMA world is completely losing its mind. After years of brutal bone snaps, agonizing surgeries, and endless time wasting away on the sidelines, the ultimate question is finally staring us in the face. Does the Notorious One still have that dog in him? Can he actually climb the mountain and become that absolute kingpin again? Right now, McGregor looks like a flat-out tank as he gears up to headline UFC 329 against Max Holloway in a welterweight mega rematch. Every single video clip he drops online is pumping this hype train to dangerous levels. But with Joe Rogan openly warning fans that something looks off in his recent camp footage, the stakes have never been higher. Will Conor shock the world and pull off the ultimate redemption story? Or will the sheer, non-stop pressure of a stone-cold killer like Holloway permanently end his career?
He's coming up against Max Holloway in a great fight. How do you see that matchup between those two?
Personally, I think because it's that welterweight, I see Conor knocking him out. Like, everyone's counting Conor out and thinks that Max is going to win. If it goes to the later rounds, yeah, Max definitely probably start piecing him up on the feet because he's got that cardio and the volume. But the fact that it's at welterweight, I think, favours Conor because Charles made Max look small at lightweight. So imagine how big Conor's going to look compared to him at welterweight.
There's only one reason that Conor McGregor hasn't fought in the last at least 2 years, right? Since the Michael Chandler pullout or, rescheduling that bout. It's because the UFC, they see the value of Conor McGregor and they don't want to waste it. But at the same time, it makes for a very difficult conversation and a very difficult scheduling for Conor McGregor. They know that they want to put him on a massive card. They want to make sure that they get the most value out of Conor because they're going to pay him a shit ton of money. So they need to get value out of him. And they want to make sure that they can either try to renegotiate with him to keep him under contract, or maybe they don't work as hard to put Conor in a fight if he's not being as receptive to renegotiations or receptive to, whatever the number is they want to give him for a fight. There's always some kind of negotiation issue. There's always some kind, because Conor is, as he said, Abriel, they said I was toast, but I'm still the bread, mate. It's true. He is the cash cow moneymaker, even still today, 11 years later after winning his first title. That says something. And it's why he hasn't been able to fight, because they want to be very selective and they're going to iron out every little contingency in his contracts before they get him a fight. It's ridiculous, but it's the way the UFC works. And Zuffa Boxing, you better get ready.
I felt like they could have done announcement with Conor and Holloway at the White House. I feel like that would have went really well for them. I think that would have been cool. I was also thinking about this on the drive-in. One of the reasons, many of reasons, they didn't put Conor on the White House card. Number one is the ticket sales, right? You can tell he's a big draw. Number two is, can you imagine the backlash that the left, CNN would have ran with if Conor, with his accusations in Dublin, going through, the grape stuff and all that?
That's interesting.
I bet you that had a hand in it, where they're like, hey, this is the White House. We're already getting a ton of shit for it. Do we really want Conor's comeback fight after going through all those legal issues in Dublin being at the forefront of this? And the ticket sales, they're like, it's just a lose-lose. I bet you that had something to do with it. They didn't want that negative attention stealing the storylines.
Off on Gaethje.
That's the fight. If Conor McGregor beats Max Holloway beat Justin Gaethje. So the UFC can legitimately make Justin Gaethje versus Conor McGregor immediately. And you put Conor McGregor in a fucking title fight. If he has a really good performance against Max Holloway, which feels very unlikely, but let's say it happens. What a fucking fight. Because Justin Gaethje's stock has gone through the roof after the White House. I mean, he's a bona fide legend now. That would be a fucking amazing fight. And that point was pretty much the end of the interview, actually. So yeah, McGregor, is he changing? I think he is, but I think it's going to be a constant battle, and one that he might get knocked down in a few times more before he eventually comes to the point that you kind of hope he would come to. But at least we're seeing some resemblance of a humbleness about him, and just speaking like a man who's actually learned a thing or two over the years, which I think for a long time it was amazing.
Now, former UFC champ Michael Bisping zeroed straight in on the cold, hard truth. What this fight actually means for McGregor's permanent place in history. Bisping was brutally honest, admitting he's totally split on whether Conor has kept up with the hyper-evolved modern game, or if this showdown will end up being the one that shatters his entire legacy. And his logic makes perfect sense. If McGregor steps in there and gets broken down, it hands his critics all the ammunition they need to completely tear down everything he's ever achieved. But at the same time, Bisping reminded everyone why Conor became a global phenomenon in the first place, flashing back to those legendary masterpieces, like the night he absolutely dismantled Eddie Alvarez to become the first simultaneous champ, and that jaw-dropping, lightning-fast deletion of Jose Aldo that changed the sport forever.
Sport has evolved, and I don't know if Conor McGregor necessarily has. Now, this is a big fight for him, for the sport, for his legacy, right? Because a lot of people are going to talk shit. If he loses this fight, fair weather fans, new people are going to be like, oh yeah, he doesn't seem like he was that good. The McGregor back in the day was that good. That's plain and simple. The way that he took out Eddie Alvarez, that was just beautiful. The Jose Aldo thing, that was one punch that was perfectly timed, incredible. But when he became double champ against Eddie Alvarez, that was a masterclass performance, okay? And then on the microphone saying, I'm going to apologize to absolutely nobody, standing there with the two belts on, the first person to ever do it.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the he wants.
It was incredible. I'm not glazing the guy. No one can deny that. And that's why he became the biggest star on the planet. And that's why he got opportunities to go and face someone like Floyd Mayweather and make the ridiculous amount of...
But according to Bisping, it's not just Conor's physical frame that's undergone a massive transformation. His entire mental approach to this dangerous game has completely shifted. Word is, McGregor is looking way more composed, serene, and fully aware of the high-stakes gamble he's playing right now. Bisping pointed out that Conor knows he has absolutely zero room for error. He can't afford to fight with the reckless, chaotic abandon of his youth. At this exact stage of his career, with Father Time knocking on the door, another devastating loss simply isn't an option. If he slips up against Holloway, the pressure from the entire world telling him to hang up the gloves and retire forever will be deafening, threatening to permanently shatter his spot on the MMA Mount Rushmore.
A quiet life on the island of Hawaii, okay, on Hilo or whatever whichever island it is. I'm not too sure off the top of my head. Mike's blessed Holloway. Where's he come from? Honolulu? I don't know off the top of my head. Let me know in the comment section, please. But still, what do you think about McGregor, this new version of himself? He does seem to have calmed down a little bit. He does seem to be taking this one very, very seriously. And he has to. Because if he doesn't get the job done here, at 38 years old, and I think he'll be turning 39 3 days after the fight, if he loses, people will be saying...
Of course, Bisping's take isn't the only elite voice throwing fuel on this absolute wildfire. Rising UFC star Paddy Pimblett is predicting a spectacular resurrection for the Irishman. The way Paddy sees it, moving up to the welterweight division is a massive cheat code for Conor, giving him a drastic size, muscle, and raw power advantage over Max Holloway. Because of that devastating power edge, Pimblett is fully convinced that McGregor sleeps Holloway early, long before the championship rounds. But Paddy didn't completely count out the alternative. He openly admitted that if Max can weather that terrifying initial storm, Blessed's legendary, non-stop volume and relentless cardio will completely hijack the fight as the rounds click away.
Going up against Max Holloway in a great fight, how do you see that matchup between those two?
Personally, I think because it's that welterweight, I see Conor knocking him out. Like, everyone's counting Conor out and thinks that Max is going to win. If it goes to the later rounds, yeah, Max definitely probably start piecing him up on the feet because he's got that cardio and the volume, but the fact that it's at welterweight, I think, favours Conor because Charles made Max look small at lightweight. So imagine how big Conor's going to look compared to him.
But here's where this narrative gets completely wild. The conversation surrounding Conor's massive return goes way beyond what happens inside the octagon. Former UFC heavyweight and respected analyst Brendan Schaub just dropped a major theory on why the promotion allegedly kept McGregor completely off that rumored, high-profile White House appearance. Now, Schaub is fully convinced that while announcing a blockbuster McGregor versus Holloway showdown at an event like that would generate insane mainstream numbers, the UFC brass simply didn't want that chaos on their plate. The way Schaub explains it, Conor's endless legal battles and the intense media circus that follows him everywhere would completely hijack the entire event, stealing the spotlight away from the administration and turning the whole thing into a Conor McGregor show.
I felt like they could have done announcement with Conor and Holloway at the White House. I feel like that would have went really well for them. I think that would have been cool. I was also thinking about this on the drive-in. One of the reasons, many of reasons, they didn't put Conor on the White House card. Number one is the ticket sales, right? You can tell he's a big draw. Number two is, can you imagine the backlash that the left, CNN would have ran with if Conor, with his accusations in Dublin, going through, the grape stuff and all that?
That's interesting.
I bet you that had a hand in it, where they're like, hey, this is the White House. We're already getting a ton of shit for it. Do we really want Conor's comeback fight after going through all those legal issues in Dublin being at the forefront of this? And the ticket sales, they're like, it's just a lose-lose. I bet you that had something to do with it. They didn't want that negative attention stealing the storylines.
Then you've got popular fight commentator Brian Davis, who just tackled a burning question that fans have been wrestling with for years. What exactly triggered the massive decline of Conor McGregor's career after reaching such unprecedented heights? Davis dug deep into the blame game, asking whether the fault lies on the UFC's shoulders or Conor's own lifestyle choices. He admitted it's almost impossible to wrap his head around why Conor sat on the sidelines in his absolute prime while still under active contract. From where Davis stands, Conor's initial explosion was the greatest meteoric rise in MMA history, which makes his idle years feel like a tragic waste of generational talent. But Davis didn't just look backward. He mapped out an insane path forward if McGregor somehow pulls off the massive upset against Holloway. According to Davis, a devastating clinical performance against Max puts Justin Gaethje squarely in the crosshairs next. And if he looks flawless doing it, a massive lightweight title shot might not be far behind. Davis knows it sounds wild, but he notes a Gaethje versus McGregor blockbuster would easily be one of the highest-selling pay-per-view cards the UFC could ever assemble, adding that Conor genuinely looks more mature, humble, and grounded than the cocky kid we used to know. Even internet megastar Logan Paul weighed in, calling Conor McGregor the absolute gold standard for combat sports box office. Logan argued that almost no athlete in human history has revolutionized a sport's popularity quite like Conor, calling him a mythical, one-of-a-kind icon whose influence stretches far beyond the cage. Reflecting on the time he met McGregor face-to-face in Washington, D.C., Logan stated that Conor's real-life charisma is pure, unadulterated electricity. Yet, even Logan added a warning, noting that returning to face elite, active killers after such a massive competitive layoff is a monumental hill to climb. Meanwhile, Michael Chandler, the exact guy who spent months waiting in limbo for this massive paycheck, isn't showing a single drop of jealousy or bitterness. Despite being completely left out of the frame this time around, the former Bellator champion showed pure class. He completely praised Holloway, calling him one of the most respected and admired warriors in combat sports history, stating that if anyone was going to steal his spot against Conor, Max was the absolute perfect man for the job. Then, top analyst Wade Plemons broke down the financial reality of this mega fight. Plemons argues that even though this showdown will pull in a historic mountain of cash, money isn't what's pushing Conor McGregor anymore. Not when he's already built an absolute business empire outside the octagon. Conor has zero left to prove financially. Instead, Plemons sees this comeback as a deeply personal psychological war, a raw hunger to test his limits against one of the baddest men alive. Plemons also dropped a major truth bomb regarding Conor's long absence, pushing back on the idea that it was purely due to injuries or setbacks. The way he sees it, the UFC has been deliberately holding their ultimate golden goose back, waiting for the perfect moment, simply because Conor remains the single biggest commercial attraction on planet Earth. With a massive, multi-million-dollar gate guaranteed every time he ties his laces, the promotion wanted to maximize every single dollar, which likely tangled up contract negotiations behind closed doors for months. But McGregor knows his worth, and he's stepping into UFC 329 firmly believing he still runs this entire game. Simply because McGregor remains the promotion's single biggest commercial attraction on planet Earth. With such a gigantic multi-million-dollar payday tied to his every single appearance, the UFC brass wanted to squeeze maximum value out of his return by saving him for the biggest possible stage. Wade Plemons even suggested that heavy contract renegotiations and financial chess games have likely tangled up this entire process behind closed doors. And as McGregor himself keeps reminding the world, he firmly believes he is the UFC, making every single decision surrounding his comeback far more significant than your average pay-per-view fight. So now the floor is yours. Does Conor McGregor still have that vintage precision to put Max Holloway away for a second time? Or will the Blessed Express roll through and get his ultimate revenge at UFC 329? Lock in your official predictions in the comments right now. I want to see a war down there. If you enjoyed this deep dive, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and flip that notification bell on so you never miss the latest explosive MMA news and fight breakdowns. See you on the next one.